So we have a question from a viewer who wants to talk about PCAs and the 5% and some of those changes, Health and Human Services kinds of changes. Maybe we can expand a little bit from there. Senator Pappas, let's start with you, maybe. Talk a little bit about that.
A big campaign to give personal care attendants a 5% increase, or at least a portion of that, a good portion of that. And they were successful. It was, you always want your issue to be one of the top hot issues of the session. You don't have a problem if you're the chair of the bonding committee, but in the bonding year. But this did become a very popular issue and had bipartisan support again. I was talking to a PCA today, and it is we should not have this situation where you have someone making $11 an hour, sole support of her family, with no paid sick days, no health care, except now she can get MNsure, no vacation days, no retirement plan. I mean, that is not the way that we should be supporting workers. So the 5% is definitely a start, but it should be looked at as a start, that people need to really be making livable wages.
Yeah, this was early on very bipartisan effort. It kind of came from, I remember when Representative Abler and I were chair of the Health and Human Services Committee, we had talked about trying to do this, and at the time we just didn't have the funds to afford to do it. And we said that we would do it the next opportunity we got. And so I think there was a sort of an implicit promise, if you will, that the legislature would try to solve this problem. So I think most of us were very happy to see that get taken up by so many people, and it got done. And, they say the legislature doesn't get things done bipartisanly, but this is a great example of that.
Well, remember, a 5% increase when you're making $11 an hour is only 55 cents or something. Yeah, it's not enough.
You always have to balance that with the nursing homes, especially in rural Minnesota,
Right.
and the margins there for them keeping their doors open are so thin.
Yep.
And Senator Han could speak to that, but it's a real balancing act, and those people work hard, so
Yes,
we're more than happy to give them that.
And really
5%.
related to that is raising the minimum wage, which was a really important victory, at least on our side of the aisle. And although it's phased into $9.50, and 2/3 of minimum wage workers are women, so it was very important to me as author of the Women's Economic Security Act that we start paying more attention to women workers. And so that was a big victory.
Minimum wage, anything further on that? Those topics been introduced?
My concern is just what it's going to do to the job climate here, and most people in Minnesota already make more than that. And we've already seen, I think it was just last month, since the beginning of the year, we've seen 4,200 jobs leave the state of Minnesota. So we're concerned that we have an overall friendly business climate here.
I think there's a connection between that and this driving need for the $100 million for homelessness. Of those 14,000 people who are homeless on any given night, half of them are under 21. What that tells you is there are a lot of families who are homeless, and they're probably working at some of those jobs, and there just aren't the sufficient rents and
Right, they can't afford the rents.
Can't afford housing. The St. Paul superintendent talked about visiting one of her students in a shelter, and the student had been living there for about 3 months, and before then had been at several other shelters. Superintendents all across the state, this is not just a metro thing, superintendents all across the state have talked about the impact of the lack of affordable housing and its impact on children. The University of Minnesota did research on that, and found that by the time a child reaches 5th grade, if they've been homeless or highly mobile, they achieve at the level of a 2nd grader who has been in stable housing. So that impact of low wages and then lack of affordable housing does have an effect.
Here's the issue, I think, at least for a lot of us. I think most of us felt there was a need to adjust the minimum wage and get to that federal level and kind of be consistent with the rest of the states around us. But I think we went too far. I think we went too quickly. I think we've got an automatic escalator in there. And the question is, and people like to talk about, well, we did all this and people are going to get, but someone is going to have to pay those funds. Someone's going to have to pay those wages. It's not going to come out of thin air. It's going to come from someplace in that budget. It's going to mean that other people will not get increases. They may not even get jobs. We talked a little bit about the healthcare system and nursing homes, and they were actually coming to me and saying, early in the session, if you raise the minimum wage, you have to pass a bill to fund the cost that we will have to pay, because we don't have any room in our budget to afford this 50%.
Maybe it could
increase
come
in
out of the CEO's multi-million-dollar salary.
But the point is that most of the minimum wage workers are not working for the big corporations. They're not target
But a
workers.
lot of them are.
Most of them are small mom and pop, smaller businesses in rural Minnesota. They're going to have a hard time conforming to this pressure on their wages.
But government picks up the cost. If the business doesn't cover the cost of their employees to pay them a decent wage, then they're eligible for food stamps. They're eligible for subsidized housing. They're using food shelves. Their kids are unstable, and so they need extra help in school. It has a great cost in our society when businesses are not paying living wages.
I think that the experience as this plays out, I think we'll see that there will be some additional...
Henry Ford made the decision that with his cars, he was going to pay his workers enough so that they could buy the cars.
That's right.
We have a situation now where workers working at Walmart cannot afford to buy the products at Walmart.
Right, and I think that's part of the problem. And people say, well, gee, you raised the minimum wage to $9.50 or whatever it's going to be, but that's not a living wage either. If you made it $25 an hour, then very few people could afford to buy the products that would have to be raised in price to accommodate the higher wages.
I think we're
This is
talking
the
about
problem.
more $14, $15 an hour is the living wage, not
Whatever it might-
$25
Whatever
an hour.
it might be, the same people that would be benefiting from the increase in minimum wage would all of a sudden find that the prices that they had to pay for at the Walmarts and the others would be much, much higher to accommodate the fact that when you have a business and you say you're going to increase your cost and your payroll, that's got to come from somewhere. I think that this was something that we needed to do. I wish we would have done it a little bit more modestly. We'll see how this plays out in the next couple of years as we go forward.
And already we're seeing that other states are, we thought we were going to be the highest, and other states are now taking action that shows.
Well, we are the highest right now.
We won't be, we're
it's a
several years
phase in,
out,
though.
and
It's a
meanwhile,
phase
other
in.
states are raising it beyond what we did in this bill.
I
so-
think one of the keys here for this whole wage argument is education. And when we've got an achievement gap in the inner city, we're seeing 50%, only 50% of our seniors graduate, of our high schoolers graduate from high school. We've got a real problem. And what we needed to be focusing on was addressing this achievement gap. And, I know that we funded education at a higher amount again this year, but in the same breath, we took away the grad standards. So we may be able to graduate more students because there's not going to be a test for them a standard.
The standards
for them.
are still there, even if you take away the basic skills test.
Well, I think that is probably the biggest moral issue of our day is this achievement gap. And until we get a handle on that, until, quite frankly, we are willing to stand up to the teachers union and say we want the most effective teachers in front of our students. We did away with the basic skills test, or we prolonged the basic skills test for teachers this year. And until we get a handle on education, particularly in these inner city areas, no wage is going to be high enough.